Welcome back to our tour of the golf course as we explore holes 7 through 12. Remember, the goal of this video is to take you hole by hole and give you some insight into strategy. Here on the 7th hole, it's our first par 5 of the day. Very long hole. The longest hitters at the club can reach this green in 2. The majority of golfers will reach this green in 3 or 4 shots. But I believe the most helpful strategy will be as we approach the green, understanding where we want to leave the ball. The main areas we want to avoid off the tee, these fairway bunkers and this right fescue, very challenging. If we hit it in there, we have to take our medicine and get it back out onto the fairway, as well as way left. We're going to hit a good tee shot here and expect to be just short of the road or just over the road in 2 shots. And like we said, some of the longer hitters can knock it up close or even on the green in 2. I believe the 7th hole really starts once we cross the road. And in a perfect world, we're playing our shots from somewhere in this area. And you kind of notice that circle matches the shape of the green. This is the most difficult green complex, in my opinion, at Huntington because of how narrow it is and because of how much trouble there is around the green. I really recommend that we try to leave our approach shots somewhere in this area, because if we miss this green left and right, we're faced with very difficult shots. I'm going to say let's avoid this right bunker at all costs. It is very difficult to keep your shot on the green from that bunker, no matter who you are, unless the pin is way up front where you have a lot of green to work with. And if we take a look at the contours of the green, this is the first green on the golf course where the predominant slope is front to back. That's why when you land the ball on the green, it usually ends up somewhere in the middle of the green. As the green narrows in width, there's a little protection to keep the ball from going into the bunkers. But right after the protection, all the golf balls will slope down off the green. And we even have a false fringe here. The back part of the green as well slopes away from the fairway. And now we start to understand why it's very difficult and why we want to keep the ball somewhere in this large area in the front. Provides an easy putt up onto the green or an easy chip shot. It's okay to miss it a little bit left of this green, provided we're short of this bunker, somewhere in this area, because we can putt the ball or hit a low chip shot up the bank and keep it on the green. I'm going to clear the screen. A lot of the strategy, especially for the advanced players, depends on where the flag stick is on the green. If the flag stick's anywhere in the front half of the green, like we said before, I recommend that you try your best to leave the ball somewhere in this short right area of the green. It's your simplest approach shot. If the flag is in the back of the green, we have a few more options. This bunker over here is not terrible. The back bunker is not terrible because you're chipping back up into the slope. All in all, very difficult, very intimidating green, but as long as we're short of the green, we're giving ourselves the best chance. The moment we go left and right of this green, it's very easy to go back and forth between these 2 bunkers. We've seen some of the best players in the shootout and the club championship have trouble on this hole for that very reason. Par here is a good score. Bogey's not the end of your day because we have a good opportunity on the next hole to get the shot back. Hole 8 is one of the shorter par 4s at Huntington. Still a very difficult golf hole, if you get out of position, a majority of the longer hitters will elect to hit something in the 230 range, 220 to 230 range, leaving themselves with an 80 or 90-yard shot in. This fairway does slope from left to right. Everything kicks towards these three bunkers. There's a good visual of the mound you can see from the tee box. You want to keep it just right of that mound to position yourself in the fairway. Basically, the only area to really avoid is this right side of the hole. That's out of bounds, and that's a score killer. This fescue over here on the left is the main reason why a lot of the long hitters don't hit driver, because if you miss it a little bit left, that's a very difficult shot as well. So hit a club that you can confidently get into the fairway, give yourself a position, give yourself your best chance at hitting the green on the next shot, and we can walk away with a good score on this hole. All right, hopefully we've positioned ourselves properly in the fairway, and we can take a look at where the flag is on this hole. This is not a very intimidating approach shot. However, we want to avoid the greenside bunkers. They're very deep, very difficult to get the ball close to the hole, and even sometimes very difficult to even hit the green surface. We also want to avoid going long on this hole. So depending on where the flag stick is, we want to aim this ball for the middle of the green. Unless the ball's up front, we can leave the ball in a nice area to chip or putt from. Just like the 7th hole and a lot of the holes at Huntington, it's better to be just short of the green than just over the back or just off to the sides. So we're going to hope that no golf balls end up in this bunker or the back left part of the left bunker. The front left part's not too terrible, but as you see, you're going to be chipping across the slope, and once it gets over this hill, the ball runs pretty quickly to the right edge of the green. Very difficult shot. And now we've reached the 9th hole. The 9th hole has ended many good nines. This is a long par 3. It's up to 225 yards from the back tee box. I believe from the red tees it's in the 160 to 170 range, so it's a very difficult hole. And we have to understand that even for the best players in the world, once a par 3 is over 170 yards, the scoring average for the entire field will be slightly over par. So bogey's not the worst score on this hole. We want to avoid the 5s, 6s, and 7s. So how can we best do that? So from the back tee box, it's about 215 yards to the middle of the green. But the majority of the trouble on this hole, in my opinion, comes from when you hit the ball pin high. Right? These bunkers are very difficult. The left rough is difficult. And being behind the green is difficult because of how severely this green is sloped from back to front. We'll get into the green contours a little more when we get up there, but when we start our planning, we want to hit this golf ball somewhere in the area just short of the green, giving it a chance to run up, but we're going to make no worse than 4 if we leave the ball just short of this green. We can putt the ball or we can chip the ball with a low lofted wedge, and we're chipping into the slope so it's easier to control. Obviously, the area we really want to avoid is this right side, as this whole right side is out of bounds. And we want to avoid going left of these bunkers. As we look at this green, there's a little bit of a false front here. But like I said, it's not the worst place to leave your golf ball. This green is predominantly sloped from back left to front right, as we've seen in other videos. It's a pretty flat green, it's just tilted in one direction. Right. And so the areas we want to try to avoid being in the bunkers, obviously, and we do not want to be long. It's very difficult to chip or even putt from behind this hole. So in summary, if we aim for the front edge and leave the ball somewhere in this area, we'll walk out of here with no worse than 4. All right, we've just made the turn. Hopefully we made no worse than 4 on the 9th hole, and we approach the 10th hole. Remember, This is a par 4 for the men, par 5 for the ladies. The fairway is met with a cross bunker and then fescue, so longer hitters will most likely elect to fly the ball into the 240 to 250 range. There's a pretty steep slope here that not only will kick your ball to the right, but it will kick it further down the fairway. So we always aim this tee shot just a little bit towards the left center of the fairway, knowing that it will kick to the right. The main area we need to avoid off the tee box, this entire right side is out of bounds, so that would be a score killer. So we cannot hit the ball to the right off this tee box. We also want to avoid going too far left, as this is a very difficult area to play from, this being the fescue, and will probably result in a layup. So no matter whether you get it to the bottom of the hill in one shot or two shots, right? We have to avoid those big trouble areas. Even if we happen to hit one down the left, we have to take our medicine and most of the time punch out unless you can comfortably carry it to the lower fairway, which we'll see once we zoom in for the next shot. All right, as we begin to plan our approach shot on 10, this is the first time we've mentioned elevation, but this shot does play downhill. So if you have 150 yards to the center of the green, it'll play about 143 yards. The only other hole on the front that really matters in terms of elevation would be the fifth hole, plays about 4 yards longer on your approach shot, and the sixth hole plays about 4 or 5 yards longer on your approach shot. Just like we said before, this entire area down the right is out of bounds, so we want to avoid this whole area down the right. Just like the seventh hole, just like the ninth hole, being short of the green, right, somewhere in this area, it's totally acceptable. It's either going to be a nice easy chip or putt, or it'll even roll on, because as we get into the drawing of the green, this is the second green that runs predominantly from front to back. We're going to see that this hole, the slope is going from the front right to the back left, and then the back right portion of the green tilts towards you slightly. I'd say the only area we do not want to hit it on this hole is this bunker right here, because you're hitting a shot that will be running away from you. These two bunkers aren't the worst spots to be in. Long is not bad either, because you're chipping right back up the hill. The theme of the 10th hole is hit it straight, avoid the right side, and understand that as the ball starts reaching the green, it'll want to work away from you and towards this back left bunker. Hitting a shot that ends up right in the middle of the green is your best chance to walk out of here with a par and bogey at worst. Just like the 8th hole, the 11th hole is a short par 4, and a lot of the longer players on 11 will hit driver and try to knock it close to the green. As long as you avoid this fescue on the left, that's a very good play. A lot of golf balls end up on the tee box on 12, which is okay. The shorter hitters and golfers that don't hit driver would like to hit something in the 220 to 240 range, which will take these bunkers out of play and give you a 80 to 90 yard shot to the green, right? We hit the fairway on 11. We're faced with a reasonable chance to make birdie, par, and bogey at worst. You really want to avoid this fescue on the left at all costs. As we look at the approach shot on 11, we're going to do something a little different on this one. Just another way to look at it. Hopefully our tee shots are somewhere in this area, playing to the green this way. So we're actually behind the green now. This is another very narrow green, just like the 7th hole, with a lot of runoffs. We have a big false front at the front of the green. And to the sides, the ball will run off the green and either go on the right side into a bunker or the left side into a collection area to chip from. long of the green is going to kick in the back bunker, and we'll talk about each of these areas now. Just like on 7, just like on 9, it is okay if we leave our ball short of the green because we're going to have a fairly simple putt or chip. Areas we want to avoid would be this right bunker because it's very deep, very hard to hit the green, as well as from behind the green. This is very deep bunker, very elevated shot, very difficult. This green is predominantly sloped towards us, and from the fairway it's going to go slightly from left to right. My best piece of advice is to find out how far it is to clear the false front, add a few yards, and play your shot right into the middle of this green. You need to avoid missing this green left and right, and obviously long, to avoid the score killer of chipping more than one time. So position your tee shot well, hit your second shot to the middle, and you'll give yourself a good chance at birdie and no worse than bogey. And the last hole we're going to look at today is hole number 12. Short par 3. My best piece of advice for hole number 12 is find out the yardage to the middle of the green and play to that number. This is the narrowest green on the golf course, 22 paces from front to back. So anywhere on this green is going to be a good shot and give us a good chance at par. Anywhere short of this green is okay because we'll have an uphill lie. These bunkers aren't terrible either because we'll have an uphill shot in terms of the green will be sloping towards us. The area that we cannot hit the ball on this hole is long. These bunkers are no good, very difficult to even hit the green on the next shot. Right? So anywhere short of the middle of the green will leave you a chance to hit the green on the next shot or to putt for par and move on to the 13th hole. Thanks for tuning in. I look forward to bringing you holes 13 through 18 later this week.